各位老师大家好，我们今天请到的梁老师梁静云老师英文名字叫做 K，是我的一位好朋友。因为之前怎么讲呢？会请到梁老师，是因为我们上次有讲到，好像希望能够多来了解一下业界，比如说文化导览啦，或者文化的翻译啊，真正在做这方面的译者，他的工作经验和工作的内容。那怎么样子把这样的经验跟内容来导到我们可能课程设计上面课程的方向，我们可以做一个参考。那这是当初会请梁老师来到这边的最主要的原因。那梁老师其实他的背景不是语言其实也不是翻译，他其实是都市规划跟室内设计。他之前是在美国University of Nebraska 念的是都市规划的硕士，还有室内设计的学士。那毕业之后，他是长期待在美国，后来才回到台湾。在2007到2009年呢，在美国担任古迹的维护员。在1999年到2009年，在美国有10年的经验来担任都市的规划研究等等，是很有丰富的在这个建筑都市规划、古迹维护等等方面有很丰富的经验。后来回到台湾之后呢，也是因缘的机会，也是同样的也是他个人的兴趣跟热忱，投入了翻译的领域。那么目前是在台北这个城市散步 Taipei Walking Tour， 从2014年在那边就是带一些外国人的团，跟他们介绍我们台湾这边文化啦、大稻埕啦、保安宫啦、孔庙啦、万华等等的这一些，算是我们台北的一些旧城区的地方，所以是第一线的翻译人员，也是一个文化的这个英语文化的这个导览员。那么他最近有跟我讲到，他这个今年才很积极在准备这个台北国立故宫博物院的文化的导览员，这个是万中选一就是真的是过五关斩六将然后现在已经进入最后的阶段，可能再过几个月就要开始在故宫担任那边的文化导览员、解说员等等的，所以可以说是把他的一些在文化啦、古迹啦等等方面的经验，跟他的语言的热情结合在一起。那我现在就把时间交给 K。
谢谢施老师今天真的很荣幸来到这边，那也很高兴有机会跟各位做交流。其实刚刚这样听下来，我就已经学到了不少。那今天要跟各位分享的，因为对我可能比较不是从教学的方面来看，所以真的是跟大家分享一下，就是我对于文化和翻译，其实我们在做的这个文化导览我先跳回来。就是文化导览上面，在我看来目前其实已经超越了一个我们可能谈的比较不是说在语言的养成这方面，比较是我们对于自己文化的认知，那如何利用语言上面的这样子的技巧、这样子的优势，把我们本身的文化跟国外的朋友做交流。那也谢谢再次谢谢施老师其实呢，我上过施老师的同步口译还有逐步口译的课。刚刚老师在提到猜题我还想到了就是我们当初要考试之前猜题猜得不同。可是老师是一位相当扎实的老师所以我相信他也给各位带来一些很不一样的一些经历。好，那么接下来呢，我就要转成英文了因为这个是我比较习惯用的语言。所以 I'm going to the rest of the presentation I'll just go ahead and speak in English. I hope you don't mind. And let me just talk a little bit about my experience that that will relate to what I'm going to talk about later. And again, Jennifer already she already told you a lot. But okay, I spent 18 years in the US, and I moved to the US when I was 18. So I have the advantage of getting to know the culture from both sides. So that's something that at the time, especially when I first moved to the States, that was not how I perceived it. I thought it was a very painful experience. But anyway, because of my personality, perhaps, I like to jump around. So yes, I've studied interior design, urban planning, and I was involved in Western architecture, and right now I'm studying traditional Taiwanese architecture. They relate to my interest, and I've also studied interpretation with Jennifer. And I've always liked historic buildings, historic districts. So that's kind of what brought me to what I'm doing right now, giving cultural tours at the historic areas. But I think, when we talk about interpretation and culture, it's very important. It doesn't matter what it is, but what is culture? What is culture to you? So we need to identify what it is, and we need to identify with it. If I don't identify with something, how am I going to convince other people that this is something that's worth knowing? So let me ask you a question. Since I'm new to Taichung, and I haven't been here many times, so if you have a friend from another country, or to me, someone from another part of Taiwan, what do you think? What's the first thing that jumps to your mind? What do you think that I should know? What do you think that represents Taichung? Anyone? Any takers?
Food.
Food? What kind of food?
Taiyang.
Very good, very good.
I'll probably take reference to the night market.
The night market, yeah.
This one just down the street.
Oh, okay, I wish I could stay tonight, but okay. Anything else? Yes. Perhaps you're talking about this? The architecture, yes, it's something that's visible. And food, yes, especially, usually these are the two, the most visible items that people will talk about. And it doesn't matter, I don't think there's right or wrong, but it's what you love, what you can draw from within yourself, that you're passionate about, that you can share with other people. So then, what is the cultural heritage of Taiwan? When we talk about Taiwan, what do we want people to know? And since the title of my talk today is, I did mention 101 and the Glass Slipper Church, so I obligated to put that in my slide. So here's 101 and the Glass Slipper Church. Okay, but again, I want to throw the question to you. Do you think these are what you want your foreign friends or anyone? Yeah. Are they what you want to share? No?
Not related to Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
Could
Okay.
be something like religious,
Uh-huh.
like some like 大甲妈祖.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so the more traditional part. Yes, perhaps. Yeah. Anyone else? No? Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with, such buildings. There's a reason for their existence. Yeah, they build them for a reason. It doesn't matter what it is. And some, I believe I forgot the name of the agency responsible for this building. They said that, we're building this to, we're thinking about women's needs. Perhaps this would be a great location for photo shoots, for wedding pictures. Okay, that could be it. And 101, we have lots of reasons to justify its existence. If we can identify with it, that's fine. But today, what I will share with you is more of what I see as, what I would like to share, with people who are new to Taiwan or people who would like to know more about Taiwan. But if you go on the website, taiwan.gov.tw, these are the pictures of the built environment that you would see, the monuments. And this, of course, is the Confucius Temple in Tainan and the presidential office. They're all impressive. And on this website, I found this passage, and I thought it's quite fitting, and we should think about it sometimes, especially behind every building in Taiwan is a different story from a different era. So I'm interested in the history, especially after being away from this country for 18 years. Sometimes you find that people who have stayed well, people who have been away from Taiwan for a while are particularly drawn to our own culture. So, and Taiwan has a rich history. We've been colonized by many different countries. But most of what we see today, and do forgive me, since I'm based in Taipei, today most of the buildings that I talk about are in Taipei. And so we will be focusing more on the era between Ming Dynasty and after the KMT, the Nationalist Party, arrived in Taiwan. But the different eras, yes, the example that I would like to use is the North Gate, Benin. Yeah, and today some of the pictures are taken by myself and some are taken from online, so I need to make that clear first. This is what it looks like today. But it has quite a story behind it. When I was preparing for this presentation, I searched online for some of the different inspirations, and I found someone used the term heritage interpretation that I thought is quite fitting for what I'm doing or what a lot of people are trying to do. Just by looking at it, what do you know about North Gate? It's one of the gates from the historic Taipei city. And of course the walls have all been torn down. And this is what it looked like back in probably around 1920 when the Japanese were still in Taiwan. And the significance behind this gate, we had 5 gates in Taipei city. Only 4 remain. West Gate is already gone. Ximen is gone. And North Gate would be somewhere right here. And this is a map from 1895 of Taipei. But North Gate, it was built in 1884, excuse me. And when the Japanese came, they didn't do anything to it, which is good. Ironically, after the KMT came, they did something. This is the East Gate, but it's different from what it is today. It's quite similar to the design of North Gate that you saw earlier, but today it looks like this. Yeah, that's something that happens to our historic monument throughout Taiwan, especially in the early days, since historic preservation is not a mainstream idea. We torn down a lot of the old buildings and replaced them with new, and we see that as progress. And that is not necessarily the case sometimes. But going back, okay, luckily North Gate is the only one that remains its original form. And furthermore, okay, as if it's not enough to change the buildings around, and some of them were even relocated at some point. But in 1982, this is what they did. The picture that you saw earlier, in order to accommodate the railroad traffic in the area, they built an overpass right next to it. So it's cramped in that area. Yeah. And no one really, it's North Gate, it's there. No one really paid attention, a whole lot of attention to it or visit the site. But something happened earlier this year. Yes, finally, the overpass was demolished. So,
are they going to build on top there?
Yeah, something similar. This photo was taken probably back in 1960 or 1970. It was a roundabout. Still, mostly it's for to accommodate traffic. Yeah, but this is what it looks like today. So more and more, cultural tours would include North Gate as part of the itinerary, and people are knowing more and more about the history. And you see, each of the gate actually has a name. quite elegant names. But without us, without people talking about it, without the tour guides, Northgate is simply an old building. So I like this saying, interpretation is what distinguishes the old and the historic, and it gives it some different meanings. And let me also go back, something that's I thought it's, I don't know if I should call it poetic justice or not, but it was once the gateway into Taipei City in 1884. Officials coming from China will have to pass through the gate into the city. And once again, if you look down the last line, the future, right now the comprehensive plan that Taipei City is doing, they're designating North Gate, and it's going to be incorporated with the western part, with Dadaocheng, with Ximen. The entire area is going to be the west gateway of the city again. And that's working in conjunction with Taoyuan Airport once the MRT is connected. So it's going to open the west side of the city. So, interpretation, since that's part of what we're talking about today. John Gaburka is he used to be a professor in Ohio State. So he said that interpretation is a communication process. It reveals meanings, relationship of our cultural and natural heritage. And when we're looking at different objects, landscapes, artifacts, and sites. So that's what we're doing. And let me just share with you, I guess I'm going to talk about what I do, like taking you on a virtual tour, but not as fancy as, no, I'm sorry, it's two-dimensional. Yeah. So I like to look at the historic part of the city, and earlier when we talk about Northgate, we talk about this area, but we also have Manga, the earliest developed area in Taipei, and also Dadaocheng. Yeah, there are some stories linking them together, and these are the stories I like to find out, and trying to deliver them in English. But something that is interesting about giving tours, English tours, is that a lot of times the information we receive in the source language, we cannot just output it exactly. If you ever go on a tour in Dadaocheng, more than likely you will hear this term, 顶下交拼. Now, if I throw this term to anyone I see on the street, people probably don't even know what it is. So how do you relate that? How do you put it in a term that people speaking different languages could understand? And let me just switch back to Chinese very quickly. Okay, 顶下交拼. 你如果去听导览的话，讲到大稻埕，顶下交拼一定会说在1853年的时候，蒙甲的3亿人攻击了同安人。3亿人是什么呢？3亿人跟同安人都是泉州的人。3亿是3个地方，南安、惠安、晋江，3个人。但因为信仰的不同，因为资源上面的抢夺，所以后来打起来了。好，同安人落败之后呢，往北逃到大龙峒，大龙峒同样是同安人，没有接受他们，他们只好又逃回了在中间这个地带大稻埕。所以蒙甲人的排外，其实间接的除了河川淤积之外，造成了他们的落寞，大稻埕崛起。那当然还有一些其他原因啦。OK, so am I going to tell my foreign friends all this? Yeah, it won't make any sense to them. So usually the example I like to use is this. Gangs of America. Gangs of New York. Excuse me. And this is not just about, how many of you have seen this movie? No? Okay. Okay, I need to find another example. But the story behind this movie is that you probably know about the early immigration trends from Europe to the United States in the early 1900s. And today in New York, you have little Italy, little Greece, many different pockets with immigrants from different places. So this is something that doesn't matter if they're from America or from Europe. And okay, we have friends from Africa and Middle East, and we need to work on that. But at least this is something that they can draw to. So a lot of times we're drawing parallels. It's beyond language now. Language is the basic. But you need to find parallels between two cultures. And I know, Shen Lao Shi later will tell us about, the learning English through movies, novels, audiobooks. And I believe, some of you in your class, you include the different landmarks from different countries and compare them to the ones in Taiwan. So that becomes an important component to create some relation. Okay. But even to ourselves, earlier I said that we need to identify with our own culture first. So when we talk about Dadao-chen, Dihua Street, what comes to your mind is, first is probably this, the New Year Festival. We have the shopping district in Dadao-chen. Yeah, pretty much, yes. Like between Thanksgiving and that's only in the United States, North America. Okay, but it has quite a rich context behind it. Now, this is a painting that was done in 1930 by Guo Xuelu, a famous painter at that time. And in it, you can find a shop that still exists today. This one, Qianyuan. Yeah. But that's what Dadao-chen was, and to some degree still is. It has a rich culture, and a lot of the movements, be it political or culture or anything, some of the newest trends started there. Yeah, and it had a famous entertainment districts. This photo was taken by the National Geographic. And these are young performers. They're not prostitutes, they're performers. And there were a lot of them in that area. And they need to, they were educated at a very early age, sometimes 4 or 5. And by 12, 13, they're ready to practice. And also in Dadao-chen, sometimes we talk about the 228 incident. And of course, we talk about religion. And this is the Shanghai City God Temple. And if you go to it right now, you'll find that it looks almost exactly as it is today. Yeah. And that's another thing about doing cultural translation or giving guided tours. Usually, I don't know, if any of you teach business English, if you talk about small talks, the no-nos. No religion, no politics, no personal information. But when it comes to giving tours or when we're talking about culture, yes, we definitely need to talk about religion. And how many of you, I like to, do this comparison because I found this number that's quite interesting. So, do you know how many convenience stores we have in Taiwan?
Over 1,000 or 5,000?
More. Much, much more.
15.
You're good, but come down a little bit. Not quite.
12.
Okay, you're getting close. Yeah, 10,000. But of course, how many temples do we have? And this is a 2014 number published by the Ministry of the Interior. So
10 times more?
not quite. The number
15.
you gave earlier,
15,000.
12.
Wow.
12. Yeah. And that's just registered.
Whoa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I noticed people.
Yeah. If it's just a small structure, I guess.
有那个范围的1.10的这个 光这一区可能就有好几个图。
Yes, yes, we're talking about different precincts, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that tells you and why. You know, of course there are some reasons behind this. So, okay, if you're looking for love, you will go to Shanghai City God Temple. You know, the most famous god right now over there, of course, is the matchmaking god, Yue Lao. And if you're praying for children, 出生娘娘, yes. For money, you will have money, yes. For promotion or exams, yes. For 孔庙 even, yeah, Confucius temple. For health, 华佗 and 保生大帝. Or simply general peace or blessing. Yeah. To keep the petty away, 打小人. Perhaps we could work on, getting a better translation on this. Yeah, 关公. Shen Jiangong, yes, it's famous for that. So, but of course that's for something a little entertaining. But really, temples were the social, political, you name it, cultural, educational, economic center of the community.
Any aspects of people's life.
Yes, it was the center of the community in many different ways. Yeah, so that's why I like to talk about it. And also, no politics, but of course we need to talk about politics. This, let me see, if any one of you know, one of the temples in Taipei received this award from UNESCO in 2003. No. A very quiet but elegant temple.
In Taipei.
Yes, in Taipei. But yeah,
Famous?
it is actually famous.
A
It's
real temple?
I'm sorry?
A real temple? Or
Yes, oh yes. A well-established, large-scale temple. Yeah. It's a little off it's not as famous as Longshan Temple or Xintian Temple. But in terms of it's still significant. Yeah, very significant.
Take over the previous page.
Yes.
So is this from the United Nations?
Yes.
But we are not United
Good
Nations.
question. Yes. So we had to, the plaque itself did not arrive in Taiwan. We had to go to Hong Kong. The temple had to go to Hong Kong to receive this. So this is something that we absolutely have to mention, when we tell people about our temple. And to give the temple credit, they did not receive any funding from the government. They did all the restoration work themselves, and they did a very good job. And each year they had a cultural festival. Sorry, the name skipped me. All of a sudden, 文化季, excuse me, 保生文化季. Yeah, that's famous every year. So the temple also is significant for another reason. There's something called 对场座. So what is it? Yeah. So there's so much more that we need to find out about ourselves, our cultural resources. Yes.
We have to use that language we can understand.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically two teams competing with each other. Two teams of artisans, of carpenters, of painters. Yeah. Working on different components in the temple. So sometimes I like to call it some reasons.
Yes, that's very
And
good.
I'm sorry, because I've stayed in the States for a long time, so a lot of the analogy I draw from the United States. Or, I don't know if you know, Mona Lisa versus David.
David?
Yes.
Mona Lisa?
Yes. And actually, Da Vinci and Michelangelo once were competing at Hall 500 in Florence. It was never completed because Michelangelo later went on to work on the Sistine Chapel. But it once happened. So, that's the analogy I like to use. But if you ever visit Bao'an Temple, it's near Yuanshan Station in Taipei. You could basically cut the temple itself into half the front part especially. Yes. And if you pay attention, yeah, both sides, you notice that some of the details are quite different. Because the left side is worked on by a different team from, the right side, of course. So what I like to do is to take you through the temple part of it, take a look, and then you can decide, which team should win this competition. And of course, as you enter a Chinese temple, you will always see the gods of gates. Now, if the main god of a particular temple is female, the center one will always be male, but on one side you will see female gods of gates. So, this is from the left, this is from the right. Okay, I'm speaking, I should switch back. The direction corresponds to, this picture here. So you can take a look. And in a temple, we'll find that everything has meaning. It's like Dan Brown's book, the Da Vinci Code, Da Vinci again. Yeah, everything has meanings. The objects they hold in their hand, or something that the decoration you see on the building. Like peach. What does peach stand for? Yes, yeah, longevity, long lives. And this is technically like a wine glass. It's a 爵. Yeah, so it represents, promotion. Yeah, perhaps you obtain a higher position somewhere. Yeah. Okay, and another staple you will see in temples are the lions. And one of them is male, one of them is female. So which one switch?
What are these? Are they lions or are they Chinese unicorns?
These are lions. Yes.
So the one with the mane is the male, and the one without the mane is the female.
Okay, which one?
This one is the male.
There's another clue. Usually there are two clues, but the modern version, only one.
The one with the boobs is the female. The one with boobs.
So you're talking about the one on the left?
Yeah.
You are correct. Yes, but yeah, good, yes, very observant. But if you see, there's actually, this is not a good angle of the picture. He has a little cup underneath. And traditionally, they will have the mouth shut. Females.
Why?
Why?
Where's the cup?
It's here. Yeah, so this is not,
Usually they are too,
right, yeah, this is not a good angle, so I apologize for that. Yes. But we all know the expression 女祖才辨识德. Yeah. So that has to do with our the traditional way of living and how we perceive female in society. Yeah, just shut up and listen and do whatever you're told. But like I said, the modern version, the temple had been renovated quite a few times. So as you see it now, the mouth is open. Yeah, it's progress. Yes. And this is the
Chinese unicorn.
Yes, Chinese unicorn. Yeah, very good. Yes, very good tool for that. Remember, we're still comparing, between the left and the right. And later I will tell you who won. And this is another. Usually we have this panel of dragons. You will see 赤龙. And of course, the dragon columns.
What you're saying is these are supposed to be mirror images of each other, but they're done by two separate different teams.
Yes, yes.
But the lions are not mirror images of each other. They're like one is male, one is female.
Right.
These are supposed to be mirror images.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to be mirror image, but of course, dragon columns, we have to have the dragons. But later we'll see something else. Okay, these are quite similar. Like the paintings on the panels. they wouldn't be exactly the same. Yeah. But you might wonder why do temples do this? Why do they hire different teams, 2 different teams, to work on the same temple? Actually, it's a very good way of getting something. It's a competition, so it's yes, and it's a very good way to get the best out of these artisans. Yeah, and a lot of them, if you have a local team, there's one particular temple where the artisan is so eager to win the competition, he spent money out of his own pocket. Yeah, he built something that's worth $150 for $100 that he received. So, for name, and that's reflects back to another one of our culture. Reputation is quite important to us. And sometimes when we go into the temple, and I won't go into too much of it, we also look at the architecture of it, the structure. And that's another thing that we need to be very proud of, because not too many people left in Taiwan know how to do it. And those who are left, of course, are quite old, the old masters. Traditional temple structure, especially the roof structure, is built entirely with wood and without a single nail. So when we're hit by an earthquake, the building will not fall. It might tilt, but it will not fall. It won't collapse. We're looking at the roof here, and something that's quite interesting about the traditional architecture are the interlocking brackets. Kasun. Yeah. And now they make it look so elaborate that a lot of us don't realize what they really are. And something that you'll find in a lot of major temples are these. But do they look Taiwanese?
How would you define Taiwanese?
Just, however, yeah. Good question, yes.
What were they?
These are,
Images of children?
actually there's a term, and not too politically correct term. They're called, huh? They're called Gong Huan, if I'm forgive my Chinese. Gong Sha. Fan Ren.
Barbarians?
No. They're meant to represent the Dutch.
Oh, the Dutch.
Yeah.
The
So
Dutch.
yes, and people have different, interpretation. Yeah.
So Gong Huan literally means silly barbarians.
Yes. Yeah. So some people would just literally translate that into stupid barbarians.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was meant as a silent protest. So that started quite a while back, to express their anger toward the Dutch that ruled the country at that time. So you won't see that in every temple, but in a lot of the major temples you'll see that.
So why are they there?
Why are they there? They're like Atlas. If you talk about the Greek mythology, he's holding the weight of the world forever. So they're
Kind of a punishment?
yes, yeah. They're above that is the roof. So they are holding the weight of the roof forever.
I didn't know. Such a wonderful story.
Yeah. And of course, there are some other very elaborate carvings and decorations, and they'll have. This is something that would be very difficult to translate sometimes. We like to talk about 忠孝节义. Yeah, but 孝, filial duties alone, sometimes it's hard to make other people, other people from other culture understand. But that's usually what these stories are related to. And these are the little writings, little marks and hints that people left. The 2 different teams, they were upset about each other. So, 好手工不补接, implying that the other team are doing something with the work that it completed or not. And also, when you're looking at a temple, it's quite overwhelming. And you can see, just a sea of colors. Every inch is covered. But there are many different things that you could appreciate, like these. They're called applique, 剪黏. The dragons, the scales, and these flowers, the petals. Every one of them is made individually, and then pieced onto it, one by one. But to make those sometimes ceramic pieces, the traditional way is that they make a bowl and then crack it and cut the pieces into the shape that they want and then put it up.
What kind of bowl? Ceramic bowl?
Yes.
Pottery.
Ceramic, yeah. And some of them are so fine. You feel very bad, very, I don't want to say sorry, but indeed, because once they are up, probably a few years down, there will be damages. But a lot of them are very intricate artworks. And even knowing that that will happen, the craftsmen, the artisans still chose to do something
So
very elaborate.
What you're saying that these are not the original pieces. Some of them might have been replaced later on,
Yes.
maybe after typhoon or
Yes, that's possible.
after storm hit.
Yeah.
Restructure.
So every few years, the temples will go through a major renovation.
So how many percentage of the whole temples remain the same?
Oh, it's hard to say. Like Bao'an Temple, it's been renovated quite a few times.
Constantly renovated.
Yes, sometimes it's just a minor part. Like the last time they were working on the murals on the side of the walls. Yeah.
How's the whiskers are new? 'Cause
Yeah. They're still up, yeah. It hasn't come down. And these are just a little bit closer look, with the applique like these, the parts on their clothing. And sometimes they are made of kochi pottery, and that's even more fragile, 胶纸陶, because it's low temperature. And something that Bao'an Temple is known for also is the murals, that I just talked about. And of course, Mulan, it's a lot of people have seen the Disney animation. Yeah, so this one is easy to explain, that she joined the military on behalf of his father. And this one will be a little difficult. Yeah. Yeah, but and this is the last one. We talked about some of the minor renovations going on in this temple. They were trying to touch up the painting a while back. They hired a conservatist from Australia to do it. And the temple consciously decided not to cover these murals with glasses so that everyone can get close to it and to look at it. Then the price for that is they have to maintain it on a very regular basis. And this, the 8 immortals, the 8 gods, and I like to draw a parallel to the Avengers. Sorry, I like movies.
Which one of the 8 gods will be the Green Hulk?
Oh, good question. No, I haven't gone to that yet. So, what do you think? The murals weren't done by different teams. They were all done by Pan Yishui, a master craftsman, master painter in the past. But earlier, your left side, Guo Ta, your right side, Chen Yingbing. These are the two, master craftsmen that led the 2 teams during that competition. 对场作.
Is it the result already?
Oh yes. This was done in the early 1900s. Yes.
Actually, so this is the last one?
No, the murals were all done by the same person, but the applique, the dragons, all this, 2 different teams.
But you're saying that there was actual winner.
Yes.
And there was a panel of judges who judged their work.
Right. Okay, so if you think the right side, 1, raise your hand, please. No? Okay, you think the right side?
The right one.
Where's the group structure?
Okay. The right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, one more. Okay. What about the left? 2. Okay.
The female line is on the left.
Yes.
So if the decision is was on the left, that would cause some problem, right? The male anxiety or something.
Maybe, yeah. At that time, yeah. Well, I'm sorry to, the majority won today.
You know why we made such judgment? It's because I think the line, I think the style on the right is kind of tender. Yeah,
Soft
but on the
shoulder.
left is the more masculine one.
Yes.
And I think since this is a temple that worship the kind of a doctor, I think probably they would like,
Kindness.
Okay. Yeah. Good analysis.
Yeah, I was guessing that the team on the right would have lost some points for speaking ill of the other team by, also voting for Jiang.
Because the other one did too. 真手艺无更改. And he even put his name here, 郭塔. Yeah, there are lots of little clues like this, name calling or yeah. So I guess going back to cultural interpretation or just interpretation itself, yes, it's a combination of many different skills. Language, like I said, it's the very basic. But it did open a lot of doors, personally, yeah, for me. And, especially as back during the time, studying, under Jennifer. So, like I said, today it's probably more for me to share what I've been doing so far with you. But I think just like interpretation, language is a minimum. It's not, you don't consider, okay, I'm going to give tours and then, okay, how do I improve my English? No, you basically have to go into it, having those skills already. And what I do myself, I still try to, even though I've stayed in the States for
15 years?
Yes, you. I still need to keep it up. Yeah, I do give myself I give myself an English environment. I speak English on a regular basis. Fortunately, I'm doing what I'm doing now, and I also teach students sometimes. And I listen, I keep myself updated with the news. Yeah. So, it's important to be familiar with current affairs because you never know when you'll use it. Like what's happening with Brexit. Yeah, just a few days ago.
It's useful to kind of use an analysis to.
Yes, analogies, yes, yeah, very important. Otherwise, they don't know what you're talking about. And be curious. Because I've jumped around, yeah, from discipline to discipline, and sometimes that's not a good thing. But we have to keep accumulating. And at some point, there's a central outlet where everything can be incorporated and be used. Well read, I think, doesn't matter which field we're in, this is always important. And volunteer. Yeah, because yes, we are doing something without any compensation, usually, financial compensation, but the experience you acquire is priceless. To me, I started out volunteering at a little historic building called Futai Street Mansion, giving tours or just be a staff, be there, answer questions, whatever. And then I moved on to Taipei Story House, and now is the National Palace Museum. And the training, the knowledge that they give us, it's not something really you cannot put the price on it. And so I think the most important thing is find what you love and stick to it. I'm sure all your students, even if they're language majors, they have to find a way to apply their language skills. And what can they do with it? This is something that they need to think about. So okay, yeah. Do you have any questions or comments for me? I know this is probably quite different from,
And where did you get the knowledge about the temples?
that I have to study myself, yes. At some point, you can also volunteer at either Longshan Temple or Ba'an Temple, but I missed the term, so. But I am taking courses studying traditional architecture, Chinese architecture, and also just lots of readings. Yeah.
Are there certain websites that you visit often to sort of like deepen your own knowledge in these regards?
Oh, yes. Actually, the websites of the temples themselves are very good resources. Yeah, they're quite organized, especially Longshan Temple and Ba'an Temple, in terms of introducing the decorative art or the history of the building.
The United Nations
Yes.
information, where did you get that?
The plaque is right on the building. Yeah, you can see it. Yes. And if you go on their website, they will also talk about it. But I also go on tours regularly myself. Yeah, it's not enough to just talk. I have to go back and listen to what other teachers have to say about the building and what they have learned. And I heard this on one of the tours. Not too many of them would talk about it. Some people like to avoid sensitive issues, but I choose not to. I think people should know.
But there are a lot of stories behind those kind of buildings or the historical era.
Yes.
Where do you find those stories? Do you read online or go to library or talk to people around?
Like talking to people is probably the best way. Like I said, I would go on the tours of other teachers. Yeah, some of them are quite knowledgeable. They have been doing this for years. But all the information that you gather, of course, we need to verify them, especially what you read online. If it's not from the official source, if it's just a story written by some bloggers, you need to verify that. Yeah.
Are you saying that you attend tours that are conducted in Chinese?
Yes.
So you can get like
More
background knowledge about
Yes,
stuff.
yes, and different perspectives. Yeah, different different tour guides will focus on different aspects. Some on architecture, some on history, some on the arts, and some can just spend half an hour talking about one piece, telling you the stories behind
Do you
it.
take notes?
Oh yes, yes, I have notebooks. Yeah,
Stacks of them.
yeah, yeah. It's a
Process of
accumulation. Yes.
Excuse me. This might be a long question. I love the way you use the word interpretation for the job you've been doing. But for most people who come from purely the local culture, I'm curious if you can give any advice for our students. How do they try to look at their own culture and not to get too much identified with it or involved in it, because I believe you do have your own perspective of approaching
Yes.
the culture. So what kind of advice would you give to the local students here who
Okay,
are starting a career?
Are you saying that for students who might not be that identified with the traditional culture, what kind of advice?
They might not come from a multicultural background as you were, right? So it's much more difficult for them to, at the same time, identify with their culture and at the same time, jump out of it. Look at So you're saying interpretation.
Yes.
This interpretation is a very complicated concept because what is your stand when you interpret?
Yes.
And,
I would say keep an open mind. In terms of our own culture, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with the glass slipper church. But why? Why do you think it's there? What is your connection to it? How do you identify with it? they must, it doesn't matter what kind of background we have, okay, this is what I'm interested in. Some people might be interested in modern architecture. They think 101 is just the most marvelous thing ever come to Taiwan. There must be something that they're passionate about. It would be difficult for them to translate or to interpret something that they don't feel any passion in it. Then it's merely a job. Yeah, they're doing something for money, and that's nothing wrong with that, but it would be more difficult to go in depth. So I would say that, yes, keep an open mind. It doesn't matter what they feel passionate about, then just learn more about it. And meanwhile, they need to be open to other culture. Try not to stereotype. Try to learn more about it. English, translating something into English is a bit more difficult than other languages because the population is so diverse. If people speak English, it could be from any country. It's not like Japanese or Spanish. That's very specific. But still, there are major cultures that are more popular around the world. Perhaps start with that. And I would say, later I think Shen Lao Shi will tell us a little bit more about, learning English through the sitcoms or the movies. Those are always a good way, a quick way to learn about the culture from a different country. So learn that, but never stereotype. You say, oh, I know, I can't think of something, but yeah, sometimes people will make statements about people from a particular country. Oh, everyone from that country is such and such and such. Yeah.
Just curious, from your experience, is any part of our Taiwanese culture is very difficult to explain to foreigners? You have any examples of this?
Actually, just going to the temples alone. Some people cannot. They cannot believe that we still believe. It depends on how spiritual a person is. How would someone go into a temple and pray for something and believing that might come true? What's the point in that? Yeah. And there are.
Have you ever had to handle a question like similar to that in nature? Like, do you guys really believe in this? Like, do these people seriously believe in this? Like, did you really have to ever handle questions like that?
Yeah, but usually they're polite. They didn't say that out loud. They just say, "Oh, really? Okay."
But you kind of know what they were replying.
Right. You know what they're thinking. But actually, I find more and more. I do find this experience rewarding because a lot of times I find the questions are quite in depth. Well, there was a tough question. Someone asked me to tell him about Taoism in 3 sentences. But I'm sorry, could you tell me Christianity? Tell me about it in 3 sentences. Yeah, I don't think that's something that we could do. But to just tell somebody about Taoism alone, I have to know more about it. Yeah, so that's something that reflects back to myself. Or someone might be quite heartbroken about the state of some of our historic buildings in Taiwan, or how late it came to. It's still not a mainstream idea, but at least it's getting more attention. And somebody once saw a column, it's another temple, they saw the writing on the column, and they told me, oh, I saw something similar to that at the National Palace Museum in the Bronx. And I thought that's Qinghongqi. Yeah. I thought that was quite amazing. I myself, wouldn't notice that. So this is what I find mostly. I guess because most of the people who come to these culture tours they are willing, they are eager to learn about our culture. So there's not so many instances of that disrespectfulness. So that's what I guess, I'm fortunate that I don't have to deal with a lot of that.
Thanks.
So, what kind of organization is the Taipei Walking Tour?
Oh, Taipei Walking Tour, it's for profit. They organize street tours, mostly in Taipei, yeah. And they started out with, they call themselves the only organization in Taiwan that offers tours in Japanese, English, and Chinese. But now it's becoming more diversified. It's becoming it's cultural tour because they talk about the different professions, they talk about the different subculture. We're going to Ximending, we're looking at the different, the graffitis. the stories, the background behind it, and the early part of it, the Hong Lo, why it was built, and the rationale behind it. And also they look at the homeless. Like if we go to Manga, I want to look at the homeless, I want to look at the red light district. Yeah, so many different aspects. Questions? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time already.
One more question.
Yes.
If you would please indulge me. Like, first of all, thank you to the stakes. Truly eye-opening presentation. Let's say if there is a take-home message from the presentation today, and I would hope that there is some for us to draw references from a perspective as a cultural guide, like a cultural tour guide, and also from a practitioner's point of view, like someone who's practicing translation interpretation almost on a daily basis. What kind of skills? What would you like to see students learn? Like college students, especially undergraduates, what would you like them to learn? What would you like to see them learn in a quote-unquote translation class? I mean, are there specific skills, or, for example, or a skill set, or are there specific aspects of the language, skills, speaking, reading, and etc., that you would like to see translation teachers focus on, so that we can be better, for lack of better description, so we can better prepare them for the situations they will encounter in the job market. What would you like to see them learn?
That's a good question. Yeah, I guess what I have been thinking all along are mostly what they have to do on their own. But as far as what the teachers could prepare them for, I guess yes, the minimum is basic skills in translation, language skills. Yeah, I think I would emphasize more on the cultural part. I really would like for them to be able to identify themselves first. What do they care about the most? What do they think? As a Chinese, if we're talking about cultural translation, we have to know who we are first. So what do they value? And then draw that, it will be easier to find the parallels from other culture. So I don't think I can properly answer your question today. Yeah, it's something that I really need to think about also. But yeah, I guess to me it has always been right now I'm thinking more about the software and I can't think of the hardware. So, but yeah, let me think about it a bit more and then get back to you on that. Okay, sorry for taking too much time.